have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
Forced orange 7 years ago.
My fellow Americans, we are and always will be a nation of immigrants.
You look like the 4th of July.
The old Stone cast.
Heard it here first.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Stone
Podcast. We're super excited to get into this episode on an incredible topic.
The deportation dilemma.
With the recent turmoil surrounding President Trump's administration's new deportation policies, our listener base has recently sent in a lot of questions regarding how it's impacting the economy.
As of July 4th, the big, beautiful bill grants over $75 billion in funding to ICE and other deportation-related expenses.
But Oliver, where is this money going, and why does the president think that it's necessary for our country?
In order to get a look inside the administration's mind, we have the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, here with us to explain.
Hi guys, thanks so much for having me on.
Kristi, as Secretary of Homeland Security, you must have strong opinions on the immigrant population in our country.
I do. My role is to ensure the safety and security of all Americans, and that's a job I take very seriously.
In the first 200 days of your work as Secretary, you made considerable progress on implementing the President's policy of immigrant deportation, haven't you?
We've made great strides in safety, relocating the illegal aliens of our country, yes. In those 200 days, 1.6 million illegal immigrants have left the United States population.
Wow. What does that mean for the rest of the country?
It means great things are to come. Safer streets, taxpayer savings, pressure off of schools and hospital services, and better job opportunities for Americans. Thank you, President Trump!
Kristi summarized President Trump's argument about illegal immigration pretty effectively. In his words, illegal immigrants
present significant threats to national security and public safety, committing violent, heinous acts against innocent Americans. Others are engaged in hostile activities, including espionage, economic espionage, and preparations for terror-related activities. Many have abused the generosity of the American people, and their presence in the United States has cost taxpayers billions of dollars at the federal, state, and local levels.
President Trump believes that putting more effort into enforcing our borders and deporting the illegal immigrants currently in the country will not only increase the country's overall safety, but also change our economy for the better. However, this cause and effect relationship, especially regarding the economy, is not as simple as he states it is. Many economists believe that these deportation effects would actually harm our economy, and pretty drastically at that.
To explain this further, published economist Blanchard is here with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Of course. Thanks for coming on the pod. Let's get started. What exactly did Trump outline in the big, beautiful bill?
Yeah, so in total, $168 billion is directed to increase immigration enforcement in the big, beautiful bill. $75 billion of this is going directly to expanding the detention and deportation operations of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE.
Wow, that's a lot of money going to kicking people out of the country. Can you give us some information about the specifics of these tens of billions of dollars and what exactly the government is doing to deport these immigrants?
Yeah, of course I can, Oliver. So since the big, beautiful bill went into effect on July 4th, 2025, $1.2 billion are going to other federal agencies like the Secret Service or the FBI, while $168 billion are going strictly to immigration services. This is a big change because previously ICE only received around $8 to $9 billion. Also, the bill mandated hiring 10,000 ICE agents for a total of $8 billion. It's predicted that by 2028, the last year of Trump's term, the government will be spending $80 billion annually on immigration, which is 5 times more than all other government agencies combined.
Wow. So, has the Trump administration done anything to try and save money and make costs more efficient?
Yeah, they've created an initiative where they incentivize immigrants to deport themselves and return to their country of origin.
So, what? Do they offer the immigrants, money to return home?
Yep, exactly right.
Is it a substantial amount, enough to thrive at home?
It's $1,000 and a free plane ticket home. Trump's administration claims self-deportation is the safest way to avoid arrests, and it's saving the government money because it's estimated that it costs $17,000 to arrest, detain, and remove someone from the U.S.
Interesting. That's not a lot of money, honestly. How many people have taken them up on that offer?
Oh, that's a great question. A Department of Homeland Security official said that tens of thousands have chosen to self-report in the mobile app. However, it's not an exact number. The process has also been proven difficult for some immigrants.
Interesting that they won't publish the exact data. Anyway, any last thoughts before we move on to a different topic?
No, I just think it'll be very interesting to see how the U.S. makes up for the loss of all these workers and how these intense immigration policies will continue to play out over President Trump's term.
Totally. Thanks so much, Eleanor.
Now, to talk about the actual, tangible effects of deportation on the economy, we have with us world-renowned economist Sveva Mauch.
Thanks so much for having me.
So, Sveva, as an expert on the ins and outs of the economy, tell the audience exactly what you'd expect to happen if these mass deportations continue.
Yeah, so even though President Trump ran on a platform of building back the economy that Biden ruined and welcoming a new era with the Trump economy, economists are now seeing how his extensive deportation efforts could be working directly against these goals.
How do you mean?
Well, as immigrants represent nearly 20% of the nation's workforce, experts are now seeing how these deportation plans could cost the American economy at least 6 million jobs. This mass amount of job loss would translate to a loss of around $1 trillion in total U.S. GDP.
Wow, that would be devastating.
I would tend to agree.
But what about the actual economy itself? How are the president's actions contributing to his Trump economy?
See, that's the funny thing. From an economist's perspective, President Trump's deportation would harm the economy more than it would help it. The Pearson Institute estimates that the U.S. economy could shrink by 1.2% by 2028 if the government deports 1.3 million people.
But they can't deport that many people by 2028, right?
The most notable part about this estimation is that deporting 1.3 million people is actually on the low end of the government's goal. It's easy to do the math to see how this projected shrinkage would only increase if this goal is exceeded.
Wow, it's really eye-opening. But how will these deportations affect a practicing economy?
That's a great question, because these deportations will have a huge effect on a practicing economy. Because immigrants are not only just workers, but they're spenders as well. We've already seen huge downshifts in the spending habits of Hispanic Americans, which is only projected to get worse as the deportations continue.
Would these deportations have any other effects on the spending habits of consumers in the U.S.?
Absolutely. Pull all of that spending power out of the economy, and you're going to see a major contraction in the numbers of workers being employed at the businesses frequented by immigrants, simply because immigrants won't frequent those businesses anymore.
And that would play into the estimated 6 million jobs lost. Wow. I see how the cycle would only get worse as deportations continue.
Exactly. Thanks so much for having me on. I love the work you guys are doing.
Thanks so much. Now, let's invite Professor Tish to explain to us the loss of labor from these deportations.
Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. As an expert on labor in this country, what's the impact that these deportations would have on employment?
Yeah, so if the administration follows through with its current goal of deporting 4 million people over the next 4 years, and there will be 3.3 million fewer employed immigrants and 2.6 million fewer employed U.S.-born workers at the end of those 4 years.
Wow, 4 million people is very ambitious. Can you explain to me real quick why there are fewer employed U.S.-born workers?
Totally, yeah. The loss of immigrant labor is directly related to the loss of U.S.-born jobs. Because when immigrant laborers leave this country, they leave a gap in the jobs where they were previously employed. This hurts that sector of the economy, leading to a general decline in the total economic growth. This contraction of growth hurts the U.S.-born workforce and leads to a decline in U.S.-born jobs.
That makes sense. Thank you. Also, what are some of the effects that deporting people will have on the U.S. labor pool?
Great question. If the U.S. government deports 4 million people over the next 4 years, then it is estimated that nearly 6 million jobs would be destroyed, with an estimated 3.6% fall in employment nationwide. Around 44% of total employment reduction would come from U.S.-born jobs, accounting for around 2.6 million jobs being lost.
I'm assuming that means these immigrants hold a large number of jobs in America?
Exactly. In the U.S., around 1 in every 5 jobs is held by an immigrant, with half of those immigrants being non-citizens. Due to the large number of immigrants in the workforce, the extensive deportation of them leads to a large reduction in employment for foreign-born workers. This hurts the U.S. economy because of the decrease in cheap and affordable labor, making the price of labor even higher than it is today.
So what kind of effect would this loss of labor have on the economy?
If the Trump administration goes through with deporting 4 million people, inflation would increase by about 1.5 to 2 points higher than in 2026. And by 2028, prices end up roughly 4 to 5% higher than they otherwise would. This is due to the labor supply being smaller while demand is so high.
That all makes sense. Thank you so much for coming on the pod, Professor Tish.
Thank you.
It's rewind time.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Trump's deportation plan may have devastating costs in more ways than one.
Through the billions of dollars spent deporting these immigrants, the almost $1 trillion lost in GDP, and the risk of up to 5% inflation and millions of jobs lost, you can't help but wonder if this mass deportation is a wrong decision.
Yeah, I'm not sure our country spending all this money to rid the nation of immigrants is worth the projected pluses on our economy and society.
Well, only one way to know for sure, and that's to see it play out. With that, we want to thank you for tuning into our podcast.
And we will see you all next time.
Bye.